This is the story of when Terry and I took a trip to Phoenix, Arizona for a Mensa regional gathering. It's like, and I just, we just wanted to go to, to a men's event out of state. But before we went, he was a member of Mensa, Terry Jacobs. Anyway, before we went, my car, I was driving a '91 Lexus ES250. That's what I had, one of my favorite cars. But before we left, what happened was I discovered that the car needed a new water pump. So and it's expensive to repair and everything. So what we did is we went to a auto shop and bought a water pump for the car, and we were supposed to have it put in. And Terry said his wonderful advice, and after that I stopped listening to him so much. I would listen to him. Sometimes he had really great advice, and sometimes he had really bad advice. So I would actually think about it. It's like, okay, is this good or bad? It's like, this is a really good idea, a really bad idea. So anyway, so he recommended. It's like, oh, it's fine. It's like, we'll go to Arizona in your car. So we drove to Arizona. Everything was fine. We had a great time at the regional gathering, and what was it? It's like I kind of remember remember some of the things. It's like that we went to. This was probably around, if I had to give it a year, I think it was around 1997 that we did this. Anyway, so on the way home, so we started back on the way home, and and even actually when we were there was a place like a Pep Boys or something like that where we could have had it put in, but he said, no, that's okay. We'll just do it when we get back. When we get back, we'll change the water pump. Okay, big mistake. So we started back home, and before we're still in Arizona, and it was before we got to Quartzsite. I don't know how many miles it was, 50 miles, 60, 70 miles before we got to Quartzsite. The car started overheating. And we had to keep stopping. And at one place we were able to fill up this. We had a ice chest, and we filled it up with water. And we'd have to stop every so often and pour water into it, wait for it to cool off, pour water into it. What a freaking adventure that was! It's like I go, are we going to make it to the next town? Because we were still out a ways, and we still had to get to Quartz. We were headed west back home, and the next city was Quartzsite. Because there was a long stretch of desert with nothing. So we finally made it to Quartzsite, and we got a motel room. I'll never forget the bed. It was like like this. It was like they needed a new mattress and box springs. So it's like I actually slept okay. Terry didn't sleep. He got up early before I did, and he went and was talking to people. He arranged for the car to stay there at the motel until we could get it towed. So and then the next adventure was, it's like, how do we get back into LA? So what he did is he called his friend Tom Funk to see if he could pick him up in LA, once we got into LA. And then when we did is he went around and talked to truck drivers. It was so embarrassing. It's like talking to different truck drivers, and finally got some guy said, okay, I'll give you a ride into LA. I'm going into LA. So it's like, I'll give you a ride into LA. So it was really uncomfortable when we were seated and everything in his cab, but at least we got a ride back into. And Terry, because he knew he screwed up, he made all the arrangements to get the car towed and everything. So what he did is he had to go out and tow it. So he got whatever he needed together and left like a day or so later. Once we got home, and actually I had to call because I missed one day of work, and I had to call into work and say, it's like, hey, the morning that that we woke up in Quartzsite. I had to call I was working at Santa Monica Bay Physicians, and it's like, actually, I'm thinking back, it's like this must have happened around 1994 or something, because that's when I was working at Santa Monica Bay Physicians. Anyway, I called in and said, it's like, we got stuck in Quartzsite. Kind of left a message for the story and everything. The next day when I hitched a ride from somebody to get into work the next day, but it's like, yeah, we're familiar with Quartzsite. It's like, got stuck there. But he understood, he didn't beat me up over it. So anyway, so as far as Quartzsite, it's like, so Terry I don't know what day it was, but he got a he took his truck. He had a truck, pickup truck. So he uh, went and got he drove out to Quartzsite, and he towed the car back in. And he said he almost had an incident on the way back. It almost flipped or something. We towed it back in, got it to a mechanic, and got the new water pump. And I don't remember how many days I was without a car, but and how I can't remember how it got to work either. Somebody must have given me a ride, whether it was him or somebody else, gave me a ride to work for a few days. But that was, after that, I think I have to, you take care of business. Otherwise, you end up on an adventure. The only good thing is that it's an interesting story. So it's, so, so anyway, yeah, it was probably like 1994 that it must have happened, because I know it was working where it was working, sent them out to Bay physicians. So anyway, that's my Quartzsite story, my Phoenix and Quartzsite story, and the story about my car. It got back. The car, had a nice long life with me.